Hi, I'm Annie. This is my house. My dog is somewhere behind me. So this is a video I've been thinking about doing for a very long time. I'm afraid it's not going to be anything fancy. I don't use TikTok. I don't know how to do over voices and whatever else. So it is just going to be my face talking the whole time, I'm afraid. And if you don't like heartfelt things or mental health awareness, just switch me off right now because you're going to get sick of it. So lots of people know me. I've met a lot of people. I speak to a lot of people. I talk far too much. And to be honest, it's probably one of my biggest faults. But sometimes I think talking helps. And for me, I'd like to talk about something that's been really important in my life, especially over the past few years. So some of you might know me as the nice girl that teaches at the swimming pool, or the one that always smiles to you on a dog walk and says good morning, or anything. Everybody sees me as this happy, bubbly person, like I haven't got a care in the world. I've got a lovely family. I've got so many friends. I've got so many reasons in my life to be happy and to be grateful. And I always have done. But that's not something I've really appreciated until this last year. During this lockdown, it's been the first time in a long time for me that I've had a chance to really look at my life and see what I've done, what I've achieved, look at the people I care about, the people I've lost, the people I've gained, the people that have taught me something, the life choices that I've made, and everything that's got me to where I am now, my stubbornness, my every fault really. And the thing is, I suffer really badly with mental health. For me, it's mainly anxiety. It can be depression, sometimes leads into that. It all started from post-traumatic stress disorder. Now it's more OCD, but that's okay in times like this because, it's a global pandemic and nobody wants to catch this virus, so that's fine. I'm not going to bore you with the reasons why I suffer with mental health because, to be honest, that's not important. And I don't think that's important for anybody because I think everybody in life has an aspect of anxiety or problems, and the reasons they get them is no one else's business, nor does it have any effect on anybody else's life. But anyway, for me, my mental health affects my personality. So I would do absolutely anything for anybody. I care so much about everybody around me, about my friends, my family, strangers, people I don't even know, dogs. Anybody that knows me knows how much I love dogs. And that is always the person I've been. However, a few years ago, I was really, really, really selfish. And I got to a point in my life where I had had enough. I had worked in the industry I'd loved for years. I still had all of my good friends. I still had a lovely family. I had a good life. But after a breakup, I started to see things differently. So after about 6 months, I sort of swanned around doing nothing, being miserable with sin, didn't really know what I was doing with my life. And then one morning I woke up and I genuinely felt like I couldn't get out of bed because the day ahead of me just wasn't worth it. I didn't want to. I didn't want to be a part of the world. I didn't want to see anybody. I didn't want to speak to anybody. I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to be there on my own and just sleep and just be. And it was that morning that I realised I had a problem and I needed to do something drastic, or it was just never going to end. It was just going to get worse and worse and worse. So on that day, I decided to go travelling. And I had never even driven to Exeter by myself. Literally, it's 25 minutes up the road, and I'd never done it because I was so scared. And I decided to go to the other side of the world. Granted, to begin with, I was going to stay with my auntie, so it wasn't exactly terrifying, but it was after that that made the difference. So I went to New Zealand. I went all the way to the other side of the world, and I spent a lot of time reading and talking and meeting people and seeing things and just experiencing life. I did a skydive. I did so many things that I'd never done before, and it was just the most amazing thing I'd ever done. And when I went to New Zealand, I was meant to just go there for a couple of months, find myself, feel better, do whatever it is that people do on these wild adventures, and then come home and be over it and be a real person again and just get back to my normal life. But after being there, I realised I needed more. So I came home for 4 months and I decided to go travelling again. When I went travelling the second time, I went to Vietnam and I went to Australia, and I was away in total for 9 or 10 months, I think. I didn't speak to any of my friends in that whole time. I had a FaceTime thing with them on Christmas Eve when I was away, and I spent the next 2 days crying because my friends were my rock. They were my life. They had always been my everything. They always had been, and they had always been there for me. And I realised that I was doing this for myself, and I couldn't be in two places at once. And if I was going to spend the whole time relying on them and talking to them every day, I would never get out of it what I needed to. So I decided on that day that I wasn't going to. I still spoke to my mum and dad a few times a week just because it kept them sane more than anything. But I didn't speak to any of my friends. And this was a decision I made that I thought would be a good thing, because I needed my time, I needed my space, I needed to get together what I wanted and who I was and everything else. And little did I know then how much it would affect me mentally when I came home. So after the 9 months or 10 months, whatever it was, I had an amazing time. It was the most wonderful experience of my life. I met so many fantastic people. I saw so many things that you could only dream of. It was absolutely amazing. I'd always wanted to travel, always. I'd always been fascinated by the world around me, and I always wanted to appreciate all the things and all the people and all the different cultures and everything else there is to offer in life. And that was why, the main reason I did it. But of course, in this time, I shut myself off from my real life and my real world and the real person I am. And when I came home, it was without doubt the hardest thing I ever did. I spent months and months being angry, and I was trying to tell my friends about when I went travelling, and I felt like they weren't interested, and I felt like nobody wanted to know me anymore, and I felt like everybody was treating me differently, and I felt like I was a burden. I felt like I was in the way. I felt like nobody wanted me around anymore. I felt like their lives had all moved on and I'd got lost somewhere along the way, and I wasn't that important to anybody anymore. And I felt like that for a long time, a long time. And as a result of that, I did switch myself off. I turned myself away from the world. I got a job and I worked all the hours God sends, because I just felt so lonely and so lost, and I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who anything was to me anymore. It was just awful. It was in this time that my depression really took hold. And before, it's only ever been my PTSD, which, to be honest, is fine. I just have a few nightmares every now and again and a few flashbacks of things that maybe I don't want to see, but it's manageable. Depression, on the other hand, is a completely different ball game. What people don't understand about depression is the way it makes you as an individual. People, when you start to shut yourself off from people that care about you and other people in the world, they can sometimes think that it's something they've done wrong, or they can sometimes get upset, or they can get offended, or they can just wonder what the hell's going on. And that whole time, you're there blaming them and saying that they don't want you around anymore, saying that they don't like you anymore, saying that you're on your own, and all of these things. And then eventually you realise the only reason you felt like that is because of you. It wasn't because of them. It wasn't because of anything they did. It was because of you. It was because you told yourself nobody cared about you. You told yourself nobody wanted you around. You told yourself your friends didn't have a place for you in their lives anymore. And you can't help that. that's something that happens and you've got no control over it, and it doesn't matter how ridiculous or how irrational it seems, you cannot stop yourself from feeling that way. And it gets to a point where you just think that nobody in the world cares about you. And for me, I just had never felt more alone in my life. I just felt like I had nothing and I had no one, and there was no point to my being. And so, as I said, I worked so many hours and I missed out on so many things. I didn't go to meals, I didn't go to birthdays, I didn't go to the pub for a drink, I didn't do anything, I didn't see anyone, I didn't do anything, I just worked because I just felt like that was all I was worth. That was the only place in the world I was needed, and it was unnecessary for me to be anywhere, and nobody else wanted me there anyway. And to be honest, that went on for a while. And then it eventually panned out onto my family. I started to think that my family didn't want me there. I started to think that my family didn't want me around, that they were ashamed of me, that they didn't care about me, and that really was ridiculous. My family are the most wonderful family in the world. They love me more than anything, and they would do absolutely anything for me. But again, it still didn't change this mental block that I had, that everybody was against me and nobody wanted me there, and I wasn't a part of anybody's life anymore. And so I bought my own house. And to be honest, I'm really, really happy that I bought my own house, and it was the best thing I ever did, and I'm so proud of myself, and it's so lovely, and it was really nice. But honestly, the reason I bought my house in the first place was just because I wanted to be on my own, in my own little world, without anybody else being a part of it. And that wasn't something I realised until this lockdown. And that's because now in this lockdown, my house and my dog is all I have. And Nellie's the only company I've got. These four walls are the only ones that I'm in. The people that I care about, my friends, my family, they're all in their houses, they're all with their families, they're all doing their own thing, and now I can't see them. And really, that's the difference. I can't see them. And since not seeing them, we've had Zoom chats, Facebook, WhatsApps, all the group things you can possibly imagine. And I had already, just before this lockdown, I had finally started to feel like I fitted back in, maybe with some of my friends. But now after this lockdown, it's made me realise how ridiculous I have been, and how my depression has taken over my personality so much that I've not even paid any attention to anybody else. I've not listened, I've not cared, I have cared, but I've not acted like I care. I've not been there. I've not been the same person I am. And that is what mental health does to you. And I think, for me, this is the first time in a long time I've had so much time to think and go through everything and think about all my friends and my family and my life. And when I split up with my partner before I went travelling, I told myself I was never going to love anyone again, because I felt as though I wasn't worthy of anybody's love. I felt as though I couldn't love anybody again. I felt like I was just going to swan through life and be on my own and stay by myself and be sort of that eccentric aunt that everybody has, that just wanders off and doesn't really have anything to do with anybody. And that was kind of where my life was going. And that was what I did to myself. I isolated myself. I put myself into self-destruct. I told myself that I was worthless. I told myself that nobody wanted me around. I told myself that I was annoying. I told myself that I was a pain. I told myself that I was in the way. I told myself that nobody liked me. And I told myself that for so long that I believed it. And now I'm reflecting on it and I'm thinking, when I had those bad days, my friends were there for me. They did ask me if I was okay. My family have always been there for me. They've always done anything for me that I've ever asked, and I know that I am a part of their world. And mental health stops you from feeling that way. I think one thing everybody should take from this, if you know someone that suffers with depression or anxiety or PTSD or any of those things that make the world a hard place to live in, just bear with them, because they don't mean it. They don't not care about you. They don't not want to go to your birthday. They don't not want to see you in the pub. They don't not want to be a part of your life. They just feel like they shouldn't be a part of anybody else's life. And that's how I felt. And I really, really hope after all of this, I can go back to the person I was before, to the person that was happy, to the person that wanted to go out all the time, to the person that smiled, and the person that smiled genuinely and not just smiled as a pretense to stop everybody from asking and just to sort of blend into the background. Just know that people who suffer with mental health don't mean it. They don't mean to seem uncaring. They just can't help it. It's like a real mental block, and until you reflect upon it and you look back on it in a different way, you can't get yourself out of it. So in all this, and before this awful lockdown happened, everything with Caroline Flack and all the Be Kind things and everything else, these are the things that make the world go around. This lockdown where people have been getting prescriptions for everyone, where people have been FaceTiming their friends, have been FaceTiming their families, have been doing Zoom meetings and whatever else this crazy world has got to offer now. Those are all the things that matter. People that care. The NHS, shops are the things that make the world go around. It's not always about having the best life or having the best things. And I mean, in these circumstances, material things really do mean nothing, because what's the point in having all the money in the world and doing all of those things if you've got no one to share it with or you've got nothing to do with it? To me, this lockdown has really helped me find myself, and I really felt as though that was something I'd lost. I'd lost faith in myself, and I'd stopped caring about myself, and I'd written myself off. And I think I'm just grateful that the people around me that do love me and the people that do care about me didn't write me off, and they understood me, and they still, I mean, I probably infuriated them and I probably upset them, but they're still there, and I can't tell them how grateful I am. And I just hope after all of this that my mental health should go back to normal and I could just be a normal person again that does all the things that I've been so scared of for so long. And it's just an amazing experience. And I know that people are hating this lockdown. I know that being stuck in the house is hard, and that, you know, and all of these things are difficult, these ways of life, not being able to see anyone, not being able to talk to anyone, not being able to give someone a hug when you see them, or see an old person walking down the street and talk to them. I know how hard that is because I'm feeling it too. But I just want everybody to take this time, and instead of concentrating on the things that are bad, try and concentrate on the things that are good. And while your mental health probably is suffering, try and look at it from a rational point of view like I have, and try and write down all the things that you do, or all the feelings that you have, and try and see if it is you that's making you feel that way, or if there are people in your life that you should cut out. I mean, let's face it, that can also be a thing. But generally, everyone, please take a step back, look at your lives, look at what you've achieved, look at all the things you have. Don't worry about the things you don't have. Don't worry if you haven't got the best job or the best boyfriend, or, you know, those things, they come with time, and life is about living. It's not about the things we do or anything else. It's just about the people you have and the people you care about, and all of the things that make the world great are all of the things that we still have during this lockdown. We still have each other, maybe not in person, but in heart. we're there. And I think that's something that everybody really should concentrate on.